Welcome to another Sunday stream here on Sports Vibes TV. I'm your host, Keith, joined as always by my co-host, Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. We have a great show for you today, folks. Can't wait to chop it up with you. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We're in the middle of an 8-game win streak, second of that nature. And with the Bucks loss the other day, we now have the longest win streak in the NBA. So kudos to the Knicks. Shout out to them. They've been playing their ass off this whole season. And things are really starting to round into shape. But there's a lot on the itinerary today that we're going to dive into. So that's why we wanted to start the show a little bit earlier. We didn't want to get, we didn't want to run up into the game and have to cut off before we got finished discussing everything that we had to discuss today. Also want to give a quick shout out to everybody in chat. J Boogie, Salute, MH, JJ, Miguel P. Thank you all for tuning in. Foxy, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, the one and only John Talento, Geraldine MacGyver, Trish D, as you said, MH, and again, as you said, Dripmore just joined us. Hope all is well with you and the family, and we'll chop it up with everyone as you join.
Yep, we currently have 42 in chat, so thank you guys for supporting the live stream. We got 14 likes, you know the deal. We try to get 100 likes every live stream, so as you are watching, if you like what we're discussing and like the content we're providing, do us a solid, smash that like button. It really does help support the live stream. So Foxy, man, how did you feel about that buzzer beater against the Miami Heat, man?
Wow, it was like divine intervention, man. I just, the reaction for Julius, I was so happy for him, but he's put his hands up in the air, looked up at the Lord, and was like, yo. So it was really, really special. Didn't think it was going to go in. I was like, oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. Oh, yes, it went in. So shout out to JD, our friend, JD Sports Talk. He did a fantastic live play-by-play of the game. And when it went in, man, his reaction was magnificent. So shout out to JD. I don't know if he's doing the show tonight, but folks, check him out. If he is, best play-by-play in the Knicks fandom. So, yeah, so I screamed. I was like, yeah, this is special. Something's in the air, folks. This is a special year for us.
Yep, JD's definitely doing the play-by-play, does a fantastic job. So once we're done here with our Sunday stream, head over to Knicks Fan TV and make sure you check him with him for the play-by-play. That should be your destination for all Knicks play-by-plays. So yeah, man, when I was watching that play develop, I was a little nervous because, Julius Randle started to fumble the ball a little, and I was like, oh man, we are not about to cough this game up, because we had at what point a 17-point lead, if I'm not mistaken. And it was eerily similar to some of the games that we lost earlier on in the season. But Julius Randle, he was able to get the ball, corral it, and he put up a beautiful shot and knocked down the three. And a lot of people might mention and say that it was a fluke, but I would say, no, that's not a fluke, because if you watch the game, I think it was either the first or the second quarter, he had a very similar shot. It was the same corner three somewhat, and on the other side of the court, he knocked it down, same little step back, got some separation, and put the shot up and made it. So for him to make that shot in that situation, I think it's definitely going to be good for this team in terms of our confidence moving forward. You can see with the way we've been playing, we're definitely going to be a tough playoff team, and I think moments like that is what's really going to help us give this team that confidence in those tough games. We wilted away in games earlier on this season, so now this team sees that the way we're playing with this 9-man rotation, that we have the ability to hold on to these wins. And, you got to give a shout out to Jimmy Butler as well. He gave Julius Randle his flowers. I uploaded the short here on the channel. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you tune into it after the live stream. And he gave Julius Randle his flowers and said he was playing, ridiculous that night. They even, on the broadcast, they had a nice little moment between the two where Jimmy Butler was just looking at Julius Randle like, yo, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, and like you said, it was visually giving him the flowers. Like, man, you're really doing it this season. And also shout out to Mitch for that steal to preserve on that inbound. They had, I think, 1.1 seconds left, so he preserved the victory with that steal. So, yeah, my neighbors must hate me because I'm screaming. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue we probably should have called the 5-second even before the steal. So we turned them over twice, if you ask me.
Exactly.
All right, so before, now let's jump into some of the slides we wanted to present. All right, here we go with this first one. Gotta give a shout out to our guy, Jaylen Brunson. He was the player of the month for the month of February. It's very well deserved. They didn't give him his flowers by selecting him into the All-Star game, and he put the league on notice. You guys didn't want to give me my flowers and select me for the All-Star game, I'm gonna put it on you. And he did that all the month of February. And also, even in the game against the Heat, he hurt his ankle, but he still toughed it through, and he made some big plays. I was shocked to see him come back and be so effective after he had that injury. So kudos to him for being a tough player and for fighting through, and also for balling out in the month of February.
Yeah. In fact, I think he hurt his ankle twice on one play.
Yeah.
He went up, and then when he came down, so this guy's a warrior. He's everything what the doctor needed to fix this franchise. Toughness, leadership, came out with that look on his face. Josh is like smiling at him. Okay, man, let's go. Let's go. And like you said, he hit a couple of shots. It's like, wow, what a difference a player makes on a team, that especially down the clutch. Mr. Clutch is going to be his new nickname.
Yeah, definitely Mr. Clutch. And I was expecting him to be the one to put up the last shot against the Heat, but he saw that, the Heat kind of forced the ball out of his hands, and he made a good decision. He trusted Julius Randle. He got him the ball, and I think he was a very important piece of that play as well, because he very well could have kept the ball and taken a poor shot, but no, he trusted his guy, and Julius Randle gave up the ball, and, now we're singing their praises.
Yeah, the smile on Julius' face, man, it was like, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. It was so genuine, and it was so much hard work to get where he is after last year. And he's all NBA, folks. Just game after game, he's just balling at such a level where you're going, he's elite. I mean, elite. So thank God last year's in our rearview mirror, just looking ahead, positive.
Yeah, we thought Randall was good 2 seasons ago. Imagine what we should be thinking about him now, because I think he's eclipsed his performance from that first All-NBA season. So definitely kudos to him.
Yeah, and he's getting this look on his eyes on defense too. He's getting motivated. I don't know if it's the heart effect or everything else, but he's doing it all over the court. So thank you, Julius. We really appreciate all you do.
Yep, we really do appreciate the hard work. All right, let's get into the next slide. So yeah, Julius Brunson. I'm losing it. Jalen Brunson was robbed. Jalen Brunson is the first NBA Player of the Month. He's the first winner that had 0 All-Star appearances since 2018, and he should have had an All-Star appearance. Jalen Brunson has been balling out so far, and he deserves the respect of both the coaches and his peers by being voted in. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, and now he's going to let the league know, I'm going to be busting your ass every game now since you didn't want to give me the respect I deserve.
Yeah, but the thing I love about New York Knicks fans is we know he's an all-star. So you want to get picky and everything, but you ask the players, look at his stats. This man's all-star. So you want to be the first NBA player with 0 All-Star appearance since 2018 to be first NBA Player of the Month. Yeah, that's crazy. This guy is unbelievable, and it was absolutely the steal of the century for the Knicks.
Yep, and you even got Charles Barkley talking about he might be the best free agent signing in NBA history. I won't go that far just yet, but if he can continue to perform the way he's performed and at some point lead us to a championship, then you have to agree with Chuck.
It's about value. There's been a lot of, prime time signings, but for the salary that he signed and, the contract and how he's performing at the level and the clutch, yeah, it has to be one of the best signings, because all of us were saying, a lot of people were saying, he was good, but you had Luka there, and, he's really more like an elevated backup player. There's nothing backup about Jaylen Brunson, man. This guy, and we were like saying, we still need a number one. Yo, he's playing at number 1 level.
Yeah, if not number 1, maybe a 1B, because
1B.
The way he's been balling, I think he's been better than a lot of the elite guards in the league. I mean, in terms of performance and just stats, you'd probably say the only guy who's been playing better is maybe Damian Lillard. And even then, Damian Lillard, his performances haven't been leading to victories. You look at what Jalen Brunson has done. He's been, carrying this team along with Julius Randle, and has us in a prime position to try and get maybe as high as the 4th seed if possible.
Yeah, that was a funky shot he just made there when that went in. I was like, whoa, what a shot that he made. He was going the wrong way and still went in off the backboard. So that was sweet.
Yeah, the thing about Brunson too is when he starts to attack the basket and tries to put up a shot, you have the utmost confidence that it's going to go in. Very rarely do I see Jalen Brunson put up a shot and I'm kind of questioning the shot selection. for the most part, he's putting moves on defenders. He's getting into the paint, finding his spots out there on the court, and he has the ability to finish. And what I like is the way he's been mixing up his attacks. You start to see other players out there on the court emulate. You see Julius Randle using his gather, RJ Barrett using his gather. We've seen Quick use some of his moves out there on the court when he's trying to get into the paint and finish. So I think the impact of Jaylen Brunson is being felt throughout this team.
Yeah, especially that midi. Like you said, even though he's shooting over 40 from three when he shoots it, but when he shoots from mid range and he gets his move in, it's like you said, no, that's going in, man. And usually he does. He's an assassin from the short range. So what a difference a Brunson makes.
And you said his contract is a steal. And you have to agree, Jalen Brunson is the 16th highest paid point guard in the NBA this season. And due to the de-escalating structure of his contract, Brunson will make less in 23-24 than he did this season. And his salary will drop down to $24.9 million in 24-25. So give a shout out to Tommy Bear for that tweet. We appreciate him supplying the stats that we use occasionally here on the show. And you mentioned it, Foxy. He's a steal. He's the 16th highest paid point guard, but he's been playing well above that. I would argue he's a top 5, top 3 point guard in terms of production and performance so far this season. And he's still young. You expect him to get better. So if this isn't the ceiling for Jalen Brunson, imagine how good he's going to be in that final year of his contract. You know, there is going to be a player option for, I believe, 25, 26, and we'll cross that road when we get there. But for him to have a salary that's de-escalating year over year, that's just going to allow us to continue to build around this team and put our foot to the pedal and try to go and win a championship within the next 2-3 years, because I believe that's going to be our window. If you look at what Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson can do after year 3 of their contract, they can opt out. And if they continue to play the way that they've been playing, then they're going to be max-worthy type players. And at that point, it's going to be hard for us to continue to build contenders around them. So with them playing the way that they're playing, the time is now for the Knicks to make some moves to help build out this roster and try to, win a championship within the next 2-3 years while we still have these guys under contract for reasonable deals.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, this is the timeline now. And besides what he's doing on the court, folks, what he's done for the culture of this team. You see, I have to think that he's been a stabilizing effect, has had a major impact on why Julius has had this turnaround season. Like you said, the expedition of expediting the development of our young players, them watching him on the court, how he carries himself. You couldn't have a better leader. You couldn't ask for a better leader than this guy, Jalen, coming over. So his toughness, his seriousness, all business. That's not, and other things. The guy messes a pass up or this, walks over, gives him a tap. Like, no, we're cool, we're cool. Come on, next play. He keeps it all the time, man. So about playing on the court, in the locker room, culture, yeah, he is a steal.
And one thing I love, you saw the end of the game, the camaraderie. You see Jalen Brunson just come up, give Julius Randle a hug. He had to be hugging him for like 10, 11 seconds. I know at some point, Randle must be like, all right, bro, this is a little bit uncomfortable. But you got to love it, man.
Yeah, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It wasn't like posing, somebody wanting getting some airtime. It was like sincere, like, yo, my ankle is killing me. We won this game. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Julius. And he's like you said, that hug was going on forever. And Julius was like, wasn't pushing him away. He was like, nah, I'll take the love. And I'll bask
in the moment.
I'll bask in the moment and I'll keep doing it. But like we said, whether it's Jalen giving him flowers or Julius, he has such a beautiful smile, Julius. And us seeing that smile. And like I said to folks, there's nothing, the way we're playing on offense and defense is unbelievably dangerous. It makes us a dangerous team, but what makes us even more dangerous is the smiles on our players' faces. Nothing's more dangerous than a happy team, a team that loves playing together, and you can see the camaraderie, man. Watch out, NBA.
Like they say, the vibes are immaculate. And if
vibes are immaculate.
And if we can continue playing this level of basketball, a deep playoff run is well within the cards. You hear Josh Hart say it, we don't want to just make the playoffs. We want to make a run in the playoffs. And at this point, if we continue to hustle, play solid defense, and if the offense is clicking like the way it's been clicking recently, we can very well go deep into the playoffs. And at that point, it'll be which team is going to show up in a 7 game series. And one thing's for sure, this team will be prepared come playoff time. It'll all just be mental. Can we lock in? Can we do what we have to do? Can we execute on the court? And can Tibbs make the proper adjustments to help us win and get as deep into the playoffs as possible?
Absolutely. We have a super chat.
Oh, we do. Salute to Jay Boogie for the $10 super chat. Really do appreciate the support. It says this Brunson run has been going for the season. He also was runner up to Joel for Player of the Month in January. We got the best point guard in the East and the second best power forward in the league today, both on the same team. Facts, Jay Boogie. Thank you for your contribution to the live stream. We really do appreciate it. And I got to totally agree. We definitely have one of the best, if not the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. And, I can't say the same about Randall because Giannis is the best point power forward. You can't argue that. But second best is definitely going to Julius Randle. And, you can argue he's the second best power forward in the entire league with the way he's been performing.
Yeah, like I said to you, if he doesn't make at least second team All NBA, it's another, we've been robbed again. He has to make that. I mean, his performance is extraordinary.
Yep, he's definitely been killing. You got to give kudos to him. And, it's not just the individual performances. We can give a shout out to those guys all the time, but there's also been a concerted effort by this team to lock up defensively. And we've been talking about the metric here on this channel for a while now. The Knicks are 27-1 when holding opponents under 110 points, and we are 11-26 when opponents score over 111 points. So if we can continue to play playoff level defense, this team is going to be able to go on a run. And this is not us just being fans. We're analyzing the game. We're seeing how other teams are playing throughout the league. And it's going to be very hard for teams to score against the Knicks, especially if we're continuing to close out at the three-point line with the way we've been doing recently. I know there's been some times where we have been getting killed at the three-point line, and, it's going to happen. But if we can continue to stay true to who we are defensively and our defensive schemes, then I believe this team can definitely do great things in the postseason. And I think at this point, I'm loving everything I'm seeing in the regular season. We got to continue to play well, but now it's all about can we carry that momentum over to the postseason, because I think that's where we're going to really see the true identity of this team.
Yeah. Hey, folks, we love to hang out in the lab during the week, Keith and I, and we know, we look for trends rather than isolated data points. And we're going to be sharing with you things tonight that this is real. This is not, sometimes you hear a team, they're on a 10-game or an 8-game winning streak, and it's just this little moment in time where everything was meshing. No, the things that are happening, we'll go into more details, but this is much longer of a sample size that it's like, no. This is who they are as a team. So I'm really jazzed, but those are the key things, folks, to keep in mind. 11-26 when opponents score over 111, 27-1 under 110. So those are the keep it simple, man. Those are the things that we have to look at.
Thanks, Foxy. Let's head over to the next slide. Also, with the way we've been cooking over the last 3 months, this is another tweet from Tommy Bear. It says the Knicks have the most wins in the NBA over the past 3 months, from December 4th through March 4th. Now, that December 4th time is very important because that's when we decided to shrink the rotation. So ever since we shrunk the rotation, the Knicks have the third most wins with 28. We're tied with the 76ers. So the Nuggets are number one with 31 wins. Bucks are second with 29 wins. I mentioned we're tied with the 76ers with 28 wins. And then you have the Celtics with 27 wins. 42 total games played, more than half the season, over 3 months isn't a small sample size either. And once again, as Tommy Bear said, this is enough of a sample size where we can get a true understanding and true representation of what this team has been doing or can do throughout the remaining portion of this season. So if we can continue to click the way we've been able to click, then this team will be dangerous. But one thing you do have to notice is, look at it, 4 of the 5 teams are all in the Eastern Conference. So it's not going to be a cakewalk come playoff time. First round, depending on who the matchup is, I do expect the Knicks to come out victorious, whether it's the Cavs or another team that's below us. But after that, in that second round and potentially even the conference finals, it's gonna be a tough road for the Knicks. But I have the utmost confidence, especially with the way we've been playing recently. We've been outplaying the 76ers in terms of wins and production, and we've been outplaying the Celtics in terms of wins and productions. And we've got wins against both of those teams head to head. So the Knicks are they're positioning themselves in a good spot to go on a run. It's all going to come down to now what those guys can do in the last few months, last few weeks of this season.
Like you said, we've beat them. So there's not that intimidation factor. And now with Brunson and with Hart coming on, that confidence, Julius playing at this level, IQ and all the other players on this team. Yeah, we beat them once, we beat them twice, we could beat them again. And you know what? If I was them, I'm saying next up, Bucks. We beat the Sixers, we beat the Celtics. Now let's show the Bucks. We beat them last year. We beat them over the last couple of years, a couple times. Well, let's show them that we're real, and we are real.
I mean, I would argue that there is an intimidation factor, but vice versa. We're intimidating them. We've gone in there and we've beat them, and they know that we're going to play solid defense. And you hear in the post games how teams have mentioned us and the type of defensive effort and intensity we play with. So I think the pressure is going to be on those teams because, yes, the national outlook of the team has changed towards the positive, but for the most part, there's still our fan bases that aren't giving us our respect. So the pressure is going to be on those teams like the 76ers and the Celtics who have championship aspirations this season for them to come out there and play well in the playoffs. For us, this is something that I don't think most fans had expected heading into the season for us to be gearing up for a potential long playoff run. It was more so a filling out year to see how Brunson and Randall would mesh and to see which players we would be able to keep for our core moving forward. So anything that we get in the postseason, to me, is going to be a plus as long as we play well. Now, like I said, the 76ers, Celtics, they have a lot more pressure on them when it comes to, playoff success. So I think the intimidation factor is going to be on some of those teams having to play well and try to, appease their fan bases.
I think you made a phenomenal observation earlier about Jimmy Butler. Folks, I've taken courses at coaching colleges and stuff like that for reading body language. And like he said earlier with Butler, he had a look in his face like, yo, we used to beat the Knicks every time in games like this. This ain't your daddy's New York Knicks. This is different. Like, we lost that game. We should have won that game. And he had that look on his face like, something's happening over there. And you're right, Jimmy. You called it. Keith was a great observer. Something's happening here, man. We ain't those Knicks from last year or the year before.
Yeah, we're out there cooking with gas now.
Don't tell the governor of New York. She might take away the gas.
Here you go, Foxy. All right. Let's jump now into the next slide. We mentioned December 4th as a key date, and we want to show you exactly why. So now if you look at what the Knicks have done since 12-4 to current day, or yesterday, you can see that they've been playing extremely well. You've got Jaylen Brunson. He's been averaging 25.6 points per game, shooting 45% from the three-point line, 48.8% from the field goal, from the field. Quentin Grimes, he's been playing solid as well. You'd like to see him get that three-point percentage up a little bit more, but he's been playing solid defense since he's been a mainstay in the rotation. RJ, he's playing decent, but we would like to see him be a little bit better. He's averaging 20 over that span, so that's something that's a positive. But look at Julius Randle. Look what he's done. 27.5 points per game, 11.5 rebounds per game, while shooting 46.8% from the field and 36.2% from the three-point line. There are some issues with this team in terms of the free throw shooting. We definitely have to improve upon that, especially come postseason. But the starters, for the most part, which is the unit that hasn't been changed much, whether it's been the 9-man or 10, 11-man rotation. But since the team has been condensed in terms of the rotation, the starters have definitely played well. You look at Mitch; he's missed some time throughout that 3-month span, but once again, you're getting solid production: 7.6 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, while shooting 70.2% from the field. So solid play from Mitchell Robinson, and he's I think he's the heart of our defense. So we need him to continue playing well.
Yeah, the difference that Mitch makes, folks, is absolutely incredible on this team. But yeah, look at the stats that, thank God for, Keith said, you know what? When we were talking about the show tonight earlier in the week, let's do a different data mining exercise where instead of showing season stats like we've done all year, let's show the stats from that inflection point when Tibbs changed the rotation or, trimmed it down to the 9-man rotation. Look at these numbers, man. It's tight.
Yep. And then it's even more interesting when you come and you look at the second unit. And I think most people would agree that the person that's probably been affected the most by the condensing of the rotation is Emmanuel Quickley. And look at the shooting numbers. He's shooting 46.6% from the field, 38.7% from the three-point line, while averaging 14.8 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, and 3.1 assists per game. And again, low turnovers. He has a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, and that's amazing from a guard. You look at iHeart. He's been big. He's been key. 4.5 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, and 51.3% shooting from the field. Now, Obi still trying to figure it out. The field goal percentage isn't there. The three-point percentage isn't there since that shrinking of the rotation. But, with the way Julius Randle has played, you just reduce the amount of minutes that Obi is playing, especially if he's not going to be knocking down his shots. And, with the introduction of Josh Hart, since he's been here, he's been averaging 11.5 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists per game, while shooting 61.8% from the field and a whopping 60% from the three-point line. And again, when we first acquired Josh Hart, the big concern was whether or not he was going to find that shooting stroke. He was shooting 32% with Portland, and we really needed him to hit his shots if he was going to be one of the guys that we were going to rely on in those closing moments of a game. And since he's been here, he's been making his shots, he's been making clutch buckets, and he's been making clutch plays. So that's why, since he's been here, you've seen him as a staple with that closing lineup.
Yeah, he's changed everything, man. And a lot of the stuff you don't see, but we see these key rebounds he's getting and these steals, but also in transition. Look at those 3.4 assists, folks. He's a wonderful playmaker. His head's up, just textbook, unbelievable. IQ on him, basketball IQ. He makes the players around him better, and that's why he's so powerful.
Yep, I see Greg really saying we're going to win 50 games. It's well within reach. We can definitely get a 50 burger. Shout out to JD. If we can continue to play well, the strength of schedule has definitely dropped for us. I think I've last looked at Tankathon yesterday. I think we were somewhere in the high 20s in terms of strength of schedule. So we can definitely go on a run.
Yeah, I think we're actually second for the strength of schedule, but I think we have to go 13-5 or something like that. 20-12 and like that. We need 12 more games to hit the 50.
Yeah, I think we were second, but I think in recent games we actually dropped down with the way our opponents have lost. So I think it's definitely well within reach. And if we get to 50 games, we can definitely start looking at that, third seed in the Eastern Conference if we can continue to play well and teams ahead of us start to falter a little bit. So I'm extremely thrilled with where we are in terms of what we can do to change our seeding in terms of, should we be third, fourth, or even fifth. But I'm definitely thrilled with the way we've been performing so far.
Kudos to Tibbs, for bringing this team together. We went through a tough stretch, but we're running on all cylinders now.
Definitely. Let's see what else we got going on in chat. David Smith says 50 wins, an easy first round exit is not success or progress. That's true. We definitely can't be an easy out in terms of the first round. I think this team definitely should at least win one round. If they lose in the second round in a competitive fashion, you'll live with it because I think you can learn a lot from this team if we go through that process. But if we lose in the first round like we did, 2 years ago against the Atlanta Hawks, then I think it's going to prove that, we're probably a little bit further away than we would like, especially when you have two guys balling out the way that they've been balling. You can't have Brunson going crazy. You can't have Julius Randle going crazy, and then you get kicked out of the first round with a whimper. That that to me that doesn't add up. So if we can go out there, win a first round series, hopefully we're able to be home in that first round series, and then come and give a competitive effort in that second round, and we lose, then it is what it is. We might have lost to a better team in that series, but definitely we have to at least get past the first round. No ifs, ands, or
Yeah.
buts about it.
Yeah, and it's all dependent on health. Hopefully we can stay injury free. But the thing that keeps sticking in my head, like I said, is watching Brunson play last year in the playoffs. We didn't have that with Elfrid Payton a couple of years ago, and we had a hobbled D Rose. So when we made that exit, that first round exit to Atlanta, this is a whole different type of players on this team. So Julius may still be there and RJ, but just bring in Brunson, and IQ is not the same player as a couple of years ago, man.
Yeah, that's
On both sides of the ball.
Yep. And even it's not even we're a different team than we were 2 years ago. We're a different team than we were pre-trade deadline. I mean, you look at the way we were giving up leads and losing games. With Josh Hart now on the squad, he's securing those tough rebounds. He's playing solid defense in clutch moments, and it's definitely helped this team catapult in those late game situations. Foxy, headphones bugging you?
No, I just wanted to make sure my battery was okay. I heard a little static. So sorry about that. Fumbling in my old age.
No, it's all good. Don't worry about it. All right, let's see what the next slide is. So we got a weird stat for you guys. So this is from Tom Piccolo. Great stuff here. RJ is shooting lights out from three off passes from Randall this season, 38 of 84 off of 45.2%. And one curious trend I'll be tracking is how RJ struggles from deep off passes from nearly anyone else in the rotation, particularly Jaylen Brunson. When Jaylen Brunson passes him the ball, he's 34 of 114, which is 29.8%. So this is definitely a kooky stat that he shoots so well when Randall's getting him the ball, but he kind of struggles when you've got other guys feeding him the rock.
Yeah, maybe in practice they got to start wearing Julius's numbers. I don't know, but yeah, thanks Piccolo. We have a couple of really bizarre stats that just make no sense, man.
Yeah, Andrew says RJ showing glimpses. I think he's close. Hopefully, because if he can start to click, then this team is going to be extremely dangerous. Because we talk about Jalen Brunson, we talk about Julius Randle. We haven't even got into what RJ can provide us if he's really being a strong third option. And they were kind of disrespecting him a little bit on the Heat broadcast, at least to start the game, calling him the third wheel in the offense. To me, third wheel kind of has some negative meaning to it. They could have used another word like he's the third cog in the machine or something like that. But if he's able to start figuring things out and he can start to percolate like we saw before he had that gruesome injury to his finger, then the sky's the limit for this squad.
Yeah, my concern with RJ is that I feel really strongly that he usually finishes the season strong, especially on his shooting. He's fantastic. He's elite at getting to the hole. We just want him finishing better. We talked about that foul shooting, but my biggest thing is on defense. That if he can play consistently on the defensive side of the ball, especially when the game counts in crunch time. But the beauty of this team is if he doesn't, Josh is there, IQ's there, Grimes is there. Depending on the matchup, and again, shout out to Tibbs. He's not afraid to bench that third wheel.
And you say that, and it leads us right into the next conversation I wanted to bring forward. The Knicks are undefeated with Josh Hart. Our Knicks have won 8 in a row. They're undefeated in the Josh Hart era. They've also won 8 in a row in December. Tom Thibodeau's club is the first New York Knicks team with 2 separate 8-game winning streaks in a season since the 72-73 Knicks, and that was the last New York Knicks team to win a title. So it's a lot of good vibes surrounding this team right now and comparing us to some of the championship-winning teams that we've only had 2, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, so...
I know we had 2.
Yeah, you were around for it. Me, I just hear stories. But, we talked about RJ and Tibbs, benching RJ at certain times during the stretch. I mean, the last few big games, we've seen Josh Hart as the guy in there closing. And, we've put together some potential closing lineups that Tibbs could feature or has featured. Just going to move forward in the next slide. So you look at this closing lineup that Tibbs could feature out there: Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. We also showed the usage percentage just to let you guys know that, when they're out there offensively, this team doesn't have too many guys that are going to be fighting for the ball. It's pretty much just Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, and then they're going to open things up for Grimes, Hart, and Mitchell Robinson. Even though we have seen Josh Hart and Grimes put the ball on the floor and create for others as well. But this closing lineup, you're going to get strong defense and you're going to get offense that flows. So I think this is definitely something that we'll see from Tibbs a little bit more. And then we have another closing option that we want to show you guys. But before we get into it, Foxy, how do you feel about this closing lineup?
I love this closing lineup, and I love that 94%. That means, that there's still room for additional touches depending on who's hot. So, and guys, a couple of weeks ago, pardon me, we had in our stream, we had Quentin Grimes saying that he wasn't really worried about touch. He's worried about winning. So that's the perfect type of player here. So if Julius is cooking or Brunson's cooking, but it's also what we've seen, them going, penetrating, kicking out the Grimes for a three, and or Josh doing it, penetrating and getting to the hole, and one, he made a great one against Miami. So and getting Mitch involved. So this is a really, really great option number one, folks.
And we have E. Gibson. He's mentioning, I like IQ closing over Grimes. And it's almost like you read our mind, because that's going to be the second option. You've got Jalen Brunson, Manuel Quickley, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. And this is the lineup we typically see in those closing moments by Tom Thibodeau. And once again, you see the usage percentage, 99.7%. Everything clicks. You've got solid defense out there on the perimeter, and Emmanuel Quickley and Josh Hart. Julius Randle has definitely stepped up this season defensively. You got to give a kudos to him for that. And you've got Mitchell Robinson as that defensive anchor. And people talk, a lot of trash about Jalen Brunson and his defense occasionally, but he's not a liability, I wouldn't say. I don't see teams seeking out Jalen Brunson to try to attack him. And when they do try to attack him, they got to be careful, because he's very slick with the way he plays defense and his positioning, getting in front of guys and drawing charges. So there's a lot of positives you get from Jalen Brunson, because he's a smart defender. He knows when he's supposed to send the double to try and get the ball out of people's hands. And like I said before, he's good at positioning and getting in front of guys, cutting them off and forcing them to commit fouls. So this team, I think, if you look at the way this lineup is set up, you've got the perfect mix of defense as well as offense. Brunson's going to cook. Randall's going to cook. Mitch is always going to be a lob threat, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, and then Quick and Hart out there locking up and making life a living hell for guys on the perimeter.
Yeah. Folks, we shared with you last week the 538 Raptor metrics, only because the classic metric of just taking points scored minus points allowed, there's a fallacy to that. So Brunson's a better defender. If you look at that stat, you're like, oh my God. But if you look at some of the stats that, take into other variables, he's not a great defender, but he's not the worst defender. He's, like you said, he's intelligent, he does his things, gets those charges, communicates, and with his offensive game, if you're just okay, but you have his offensive game, and you have a Quickley and Hart next to you, they're going to be able to hide, a lot of the things that maybe he's a liability at. But again, 99.7. I love that. That just means they're not having to give up who they are. Their game, they're going to get all their touches. They're going to be a smile on their face, and the way they play, man. That's a serious, just Quickley and Hart right there. There's just possession after possession I watch of Quickley and also Hart, man, where they're just dogs, but technique-wise, it's more than physicality. It's just smarts, their hands, they're dangerous.
Yeah, man.
Teams hate players like that by the time it's crunch time, they're tired, and this son of a bitch is still going at me.
Mm-hmm. We make teams work, and especially in the regular seasons, opposing teams hate that. They want things to be easy peasy, and they'll ratchet up the intensity come, playoffs. But we're not playing out there like this is an all-star game. We're giving our all 100%. Tibbs isn't going to allow anything other than that. And we're seeing it from, the way other teams are responding to us.
And we have from Buzzer Beater, we have a super chat.
Yep. Thank you, Buzzer Beater. Says Julius Randle is the greatest man since Mandela. That's a good one, Buzzer Beater. Definitely a good one.
Hope all is well with you and your family, friend.
Definitely. Buzzer Beater, big supporter of the channel. Definitely has the super chats and helps support the channel, and he also helps support the edited. So thank you for that, Buzzer Beater. Really do appreciate your support. Now we talked about Josh Hart and Emmanuel Quickly, and the thing is, both of those guys have pretty questionable contract situations because Emmanuel Quickly he'll be a free agent after next season, and Josh Hart has the option of being a free agent after this season. So Ian Begley did have some words about IQ and his contract extension. He says it would be really shocking to me if the Knicks did not sign Quickly to a big extension. Now, I would like to know what is considered a big extension because there are other comparables. You look at some other guys out there in the league and what they're being paid anywhere from 15 to $21 million for guys that are coming off the bench and cooking. So we as fans are gonna have to see what Bagley thinks a big extension would amount to. Foxy, if you had to sign Quickly to an extension now, any ballpark figures as to what you'd probably offer him?
Yeah, I would, be in the 13 to 15 range. Hopefully we can get it for 13 a million a year. But he's absolutely a keeper. And you want to tie him up now, like Ian said. Don't wait to the last second on this guy.
Yep, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where he might feel disrespected come contract negotiation, and feel like maybe his services are valued elsewhere because he's definitely a key cog with him being a spark plug. I think when Emmanuel Quickly hits a three, it just changes the energy in any arena, whether it's home or away. Because when it's home, the home crowd starts to get amped and realize, okay, Quick is cooking. He's he has the ability to take over a game in terms of knocking down some crucial three pointers and sapping some of the momentum from opposing teams. And the same thing when it's away games. Those big threes help quiet a crowd, and I think that really helps energize this team when they're out there and they get to shut up an opposing team's fans. I think that's really a motivating factor out there for them on the court in terms of the mental game and the psyches of our players. So with Quick, he definitely is one of the big pieces of this squad moving forward. So we definitely have to lock him up. Within reason. I'm not saying go out there and give him crazy money, but it has to be comparable with what other guys are making out there, or else he's going to look to see and get more on the open market.
Yeah. And we know he's valued because the phone has been ringing for the last year to the front office saying is IQ available. So that's a really great sign when teams are saying, looking around, who do we want to add that makes our team better, makes the players around him better, has a great motor, can play great defense, is getting better every year. That guy is Emmanuel Quickly. Let's see if he's available and see if we can steal him from the Knicks. And that's why Begley was right on, like, yo, this is a keeper. This is a foundational piece that we must keep.
And you mentioned he's getting better year after year. I mean, we've seen a major development in his game. When he first got here, the only option he had to go to in terms of mid-range shooting was that floater. Now we're starting to see him actually pull up, some jump shots, a little float, fading away, things like that. There's some versatility to his offense now once he gets within, anywhere from 15 to 18 feet. There's other things that he can do to help keep opposing defenses, off balance, if you want to put it like that. And another thing he's done is he's put on some weight, and that has definitely helped his ability to finish at the rim. We're going to show you some stats that are going to back that up. But also, let's look at this tweet from Tom Piccolo. It says, Emmanuel Quickly has been elite at finishing through fouls. He creates and ones on 33.8% of his shooting fouls, with ranks in the 81st percentile among wings via at cleaning the glass. All right. They list IQ as a wing, but combo guard probably makes more sense. It's very impressive given he is still adding strength and he is still building upon that frame. So Quick has definitely showed the ability now to get into the paint, finish through contact, and also get fouled. And when he does get fouled, he's a great free throw shooter. So for the most part, those drives to the basket are as effective as him shooting three pointers. You look at him creating and ones on 33.8% of his drives to the basket and his shooting fouls. There's guys around the league that don't shoot 33.8% from three. So now he's getting an opportunity to do that on that many of his drives, which is, to me, essentially a three-point shot. with the fact that he's able to knock down the three as efficiently as he's been able to do since he's gotten into the league. So that's definitely big with the development of Emmanuel Quickley. And those and ones, like I said, are momentum building. So he gets those and ones, the crowd is hyped, the team is hyped, and it helps us, battle through whether we're down or whether we're up and we're trying to sustain a lead. So that's very big when it comes to Emmanuel Quickley and his play out there on the court.
Yeah, as Clyde would say, he does it the old-fashioned way, man. Those and ones. So, but also, like you said, that development, hezzy dribbles going to his left hand off the backboard, like you said, pulling up with a classic traditional midi besides the others, and he's adding more and more to his game. I can't wait to see the next couple of years as this development, continues. So, yeah, really impressive. He's a beast, folks. He looks like he's the skinny, slender guy. Oh no, man. He is ripped. He is literally like an MMA fighter, man. You see him, you're like his stomach muscles and his just his shoulders and everything else. He's a beast, man.
Yeah, he's definitely been putting the work on in the gym. And it's also helped, like we've seen, with him finishing through contact. And I think it's also helped him be more open to attacking the basket as well, knowing that he'll be able to fight through some of that contact and be able to weather it, not get injured, and things like that. So we went through and we made a slide. This was at the request of Jesco. So salute to Jesco for pointing us in this direction. So we decided to look at Emmanuel Quickley, his percentage of field goal attempts by distance, and also his field goal percentage by distance. So if you look here in this season for his 2-point attempts, 51.1% of his shot attempts are 2-pointers. And on those 2-pointers, he's shooting 52.5%. And look at that compared to what he did in his first 2 years. He shot 44.8% on 2-pointers last year and 40.1% on 2-pointers during his rookie season. And heading into the season, he said one of the main things he wanted to do was to shoot over 40%, and knocking down your 2-pointers at this high of a rate is definitely going to help you try and keep that field goal percentage over 40%. And then you look at the 3-pointers, the percentage of field goals has kind of dipped a little bit in terms of 3-pointers, but you can see the efficiency is better than what we saw last season. I think a lot of that can be explained by him not taking as many bad 3-point attempts where you're kind of scratching your head. You're like, all right, quick, calm down. You're not Steph Curry just yet. You might want to chill a little bit. So if you look at this, you can definitely see how his splits has changed and how his percentages have increased year over year. I mean, look at from 0 to 3, 67.4% is what he's shooting in terms of his percentage on those shots. So he's extremely efficient.
At the rim, basically.
Pretty much. And he's extremely efficient in that area. You can attribute that to the additional muscle mass he packed on. And also he's having a higher percentage of those shots coming at the rim, 13.1% compared to 9% last year and 5.9% the year before. So you can definitely see that the additional weight has helped him be more confident attacking the basket and has helped him be better at finishing through that contact as well.
Yeah. Again, shout out to Jesco. We call him a field producer because he comes up with ideas. And the same thing to you folks. Shimmy MD, others have given us ideas about, hey, any chance you guys in your data mining expertise could put together some numbers like this? And so we got the request from Jesco and you see it. But like he said, that 13.1 at the rim from 0 to 3 from 5.9 his rookie year, that's a Tom Thibodeau point guard getting to the hole. But also that all the way in the right, folks, that corner 3, rookie year, 7.9% of his shots were corner 3s. Now that's up almost 26.8. Yo, and also, folks, we have in there blocked. So, his rookie year, 25 times, 33. RJ has had his shot blocked 70 times, I think, in 51 games. And, IQ's, he's smart. He doesn't get his shot blocked. He uses his smarts and everything. And that weight that he's talking on, for the and ones. Look at the and ones, folks. 24 and ones. That's all about strength right there. And we're not even talking about how the strength has helped him on the defensive side of the ball. Yep. So, but if you look, folks, he's gotten better every year, pretty much. That's the development curve that you want to see. That's why the phone's ringing for this guy.
And you can also attribute the reason that the corner three has gone up a lot more is the fact that now a lot of times he's playing off of a real point guard in Jalen Brunson. When those two share the court, you see a lot of synergy between them, and it allows Quick to kind of change up his game a little bit, where the ball's not in his hands all the time, and he's focused more so on catch and shoot 3 point opportunities. So that's definitely helped attribute to the increase you're seeing in his efficiency.
Yeah, and folks, remember that this is for the season. We just showed you earlier that he's actually shooting higher for the last 42 games since
Yep.
the Tibbs changed it to the 9-man rotation. So the numbers from three are even better.
hmm So Quick has definitely been balling, and with that, you're gonna have to open up the checkbook and sign him to a reasonable deal, which leads us back to what started the discussion and the fact that we're gonna have to make decisions on both Emmanuel Quickly and Josh Hart. So you can see what their salaries are for next season. We have a club option for Emmanuel Quickly in 23-24, which is 4.1 million roughly, or 4.2 if you want to round it up correctly. And then Josh Hart, he has a player option for right around $13 million. He can either opt in and stay another year, but most likely he's gonna opt out and re up. You look at what the Knicks traded in order to get him. We traded up a first, we traded Cam, so we invested in a guy like Josh Hart, and I'm pretty sure his agent says, "Look, listen, look at what the Knicks gave up in order to acquire you. If you opt out, they're going to sign you to a reasonable deal because they don't want to lose you for nothing." So just that's just how business is. He's gonna opt out, and we'll discuss about what that salary may look like in terms of trying to bring him back and re up for another 3 or 4 year pact.
Exactly. So yeah, we have him for on the cheap, but let's keep him on the cheap, and hopefully we'll get a club friendly deal to tie him up for another 4 years after this.
Yep. And so just I'm gonna look at some other deals around the league just to get a better understanding of what it might cost to retain a guy like Emmanuel Quickly and Josh Hart, two guys that are coming off the bench for us right now. Maybe these numbers change if they decide to move off of a guy like RJ Barrett and elevate one of them to the starting lineup. But for now, for them coming off the bench, you're looking at some comparable contracts. You got Jordan Clarkson. He signed a 4 year, $51.5 million deal, which is an average annual salary of 12.9 million. Look at Norman Powell. He signed 5 years, $90 million, which is around $18 million a year. Alex Caruso, he signed a 4 year, 37 roughly $1 million deal for $9.2 million per season. And then you've got Dylan Brooks, who's on a 3 year, $35 million deal, which is right around $12 million per season. And you look at guys like Jordan Clarkson, Norman Powell, those are guys that are pretty much in the sixth man of the year race with Emmanuel Quickly. So I think those are very comparable salaries and what we should be paying Emmanuel Quickly is just whether or not his representation agrees.
Yeah, and Norman Powell, the type of player he is very similar to a Josh Hart. A real tough defensive player, smart and stuff like that. So hopefully, like we said, it's just a range, but 13 to maybe 15 million for IQ, and the same thing. 16 maybe to the 18 million if we can for Josh Hart. But hopefully, again, he's a CAA client and knows Leon and Emmanuel. Hopefully, both of them will give us, just like Brunson did, inside a contract that allows us to get better. That they'll sign a contract won't strangle us.
Yep. And also, we do have the cap that'll be raising year over year, but you
Next
still
year.
want to make some reasonable decisions in terms of extending players and things like that. So it's going to be on the front office to make some decisions as to how much they're going to pay these guys and what they'll be willing to pay. But I think Quick and both Hart, they both love being here. It seems like they enjoy being here. And, being in New York is pretty profitable for guys in the league, whether it be the exposure. You've got Emmanuel Quickly. He signed to Rock Nation, if I'm not believed. I think their headquarters is here in New York. So for him being able to be around his representation, I think that's definitely a bonus for him as opposed to, going somewhere else and not being able to have access to those guys as easily as he would here. So I think there's also some other factors that Quick, also an East Coast guy, is not too far from Maryland. Being in New York is what, a three. Well, when I drive, it's a 3 hour trip, but other people, when you drive normal speeds, it's about a 4 hour trip down there, 3.5 hour trip. So I think he's definitely in a position or in a place where he's pretty comfortable. So I think that'll definitely be in our favor come negotiation time.
Absolutely. Hey, quick shout out to E. Gibson. He said, "You guys are killing it with the stats." I was mentioning how IQ improved greatly this year. We thank you so much for those kind words. Like we said, we put in a whole lot of work, as you can see behind the scenes, to make this show as enlightening and thought provoking as possible. So thank you so much for those kind words. We really appreciate it.
Yep, we definitely do. We try our best to bring you guys some high quality stats and just try to give you a better understanding of what these guys are doing in terms of numbers and how they're progressing year over year. So definitely thank you for the shout out. We really do appreciate it. Let's see what else we got going on. Anybody else you want to give a shout out to, Foxy?
Yeah, the one and only Adele Chapman. Hope all is well with you and the family. He says, "I think IQ is younger than those players. He's
Mm-hmm.
definitely younger than Norman Powell and Jordan
Yeah, Jordan
Clarkson, who's in
Clarkson,
his
yeah.
30s." So
Younger than Caruso too,
great
no?
observation.
Caruso's been
Pardon?
around for. He's definitely he's younger than Caruso too. He's been around.
Hmm.
So yeah, so maybe because of that age, he might end up asking for a little bit more money because he still hasn't reached his ceilings just as yet. So it is something to take into consideration when you're factoring his deal. But I think he'll be reasonable in what he's requesting, and if he's gonna stay in the role of a sixth man, I think the numbers that we showed are pretty close to what you can expect for Emmanuel Quickly, at least in terms of comparables. Because you normally when you have these negotiations, you look at comparables, whether it be free agent contracts or even if it's not basketball related. Related, you're buying a home, you look at comparables on the market, and that's how you settle among settle on a price point. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not going to be something that goes back and forth for too long, and we'll be able to figure things out.
And some guys, and rightly so, it's like, it's in the ballpark. I just want to get this over so I can just focus on basketball, not have to worry about contracts. We have another super chat from Buzzer Beater. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Buzzer Beater. We appreciate the support. Let's see what the super chat says. It says, "Y'all heard anything about the Sweetwater film?" No, I'm not too familiar with the Sweetwater film. You, Foxy?
If it's about Sweetwater Clifton, I'm not. I haven't heard about the film, but I wonder if it's about early Nick player Sweetwater Clifton.
2023 on IMDb. It says the story of the first African American to play in the NBA. Is that the one you're referring to? I think there's also one from 2013.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, so let us know, Buzzer Beater, but we'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, I'm
He's a
not
legend, no doubt. He's a legend.
facts, but I haven't tuned into the film. But thank you for putting it on my radar. I'll definitely check it out and see what it's about. Uh,
Not sure. I think Sweetwater played for the Globetrotters before he played for the Knicks.
mhm. So we're gonna look at some of the races in terms of um, awards and things like that. And we're going to be looking at some rankings from Hoopshype Global just to give you a better understanding of the rating system. Hoopshype Global ratings combines players and team statistics to rank players according to their productivity on the court. The amount of games a player has missed in a certain season or competition also is factored in. So wanted to do that just to get you guys to understand what the rankings or how the rankings that we put together are measured or calculated. So here you can see, based on Hoops Hype rating, Manuel Quickly is the highest behind only Russell Brickbrook. So I think he's definitely been putting himself in the conversation for sixth man of the year. You look at Brickbrook, he's starting now for the Clippers, so he's out of it. Brogdon, he's been playing good for the Celtics, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw in chat that he's going to be out tonight. I think that'll be a big boost for us. Norman Powell, he's been playing great for the Clippers, but they've been struggling here as of late. Are they still 0-4 since they traded for Brickbrook?
Not sure.
Yeah, I believe they're still 0-4 since they traded for him. So they're starting to struggle. Maxi, the South 76ers have been playing good in recent days or recent weeks. They just recently beat the Bucks too, who had themselves a 16-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken. So there's formidable competition in terms of six man of the year. But if you look at what Emmanuel Quickly has done for this Knicks team, he's definitely, I think, one of the top three in terms of consideration for this award. So hopefully, when the award votes are released, somebody's going to give Emmanuel Quickly his flowers, and he might even win if we continue to play how we've been playing since the rotation was constricted.
Yeah. And we bring this up only because so many companies have come out that are in the business of working with front office, of working on methodologies, of finding out, like we said, the antiquated, just subtracting points scored versus minus, it doesn't bring out the complete picture. So that's why if you look at other types of metrics, so we talked about Raptor last week, this is, Hoopshype, there's the LeBron, etc. That people, you look at that to see their real impact rather than just something that, the game has gray areas. It's not always black and white. And if you look at those gray areas, IQ is absolutely should be in the running for the sixth man of the year.
Yep. And also, he's getting shout outs from guys like Ian Begley. Ian Begley sent out a tweet saying that he should definitely be considered in terms of sixth man of the year. Put that on screen. Ian Begley says between his production and the Knicks record, Emmanuel Quickley has put together a solid case for the NBA's sixth man award over the past 3 months. So if he can continue to play the way he's been playing, especially recently, we've been talking about his shooting efficiency, last 15, 20 games, it's through the roof. So if he can carry that for the remaining portion of this season, he's going to skyrocket up people's ranking lists. And I think it's going to be well deserved. I think right now, Emmanuel Quickley is probably extremely underrated, especially by fans. So hopefully, the people that vote for the awards will take into consideration what this team looked like earlier on in the season and how we've performed after we finally figured out what we were going to do rotation wise.
We have 2 super chats.
Okay. Check those out. We got one from Adele Chapman. Thank you for tuning in. He says, wonder how Rokas is doing. Def a trade asset. Rokas has still been performing well over there in Barcelona. We've been keeping tabs on him. And I think he's definitely going to be a trade asset. I don't see him coming over and playing for Tibbs, especially with the way we've been seeing the guard rotation recently. You've got Jaylen Brunson, you've got Emmanuel Quickley, you've got Josh Hart, you've got Quentin Grimes. With those 4 guys, you've kind of solidified the 2 position, and then Josh Hart can fluctuate between playing the 2 and playing the 3. So I'm not sure where a guy like Rokas would fit in, especially when Jalen Brunson takes a spell. You have Emmanuel Quickley running that backup point. So Rokas is probably going to be someone that's traded this offseason or maybe even next offseason when this team is trying to do everything they can to make that push into championship contention.
Yeah, in fact, folks, check out Keys did a great short on Rokas about a week or so ago, him hitting a killer dagger 3 to win a game. And he's shooting over 40% from 3. He's doing everything. So he is absolutely a prized asset, and it's only becoming more valuable with the way he's playing. And also, we have a super chat from Parrish.
Yep, Parrish says, salute. I think IQ gets 22, 20, 18, 18 mil descending. Hopefully we can do another deal descending. It helps us in terms of our long-term flexibility, but 22 might be a little bit steep. Hopefully it doesn't get that high. 18 mil, I can see him requesting 18 mil, especially with the way he's been performing. But 22 mil, I would hope it doesn't get that high. Anywhere from 16 to 18 mil, you can understand, especially if he's going to remain in a 6-man role. I don't know if you want to get too crazy giving him money in the low 20s if he's still going to be coming off the bench.
But like you said earlier, in 25, the salary cap goes up. So even if we give him that, then it'll be a smaller percentage of the overall cap. So I'm sure Brock Aller is taking all of that into consideration.
Yep, we got our capologist doing his job. He set us up beautifully in the deals for Brunson and Randall because those guys are vastly underpaid. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
We have another super chat from Parrish.
It says, I would rest Bruns tonight and leave Boston in fear of us. Yeah, if Brunson is hurt and nursing a bum ankle, then I would definitely sit him tonight. We've been playing phenomenal. I wouldn't try and risk it too much. The important part right now is having these guys healthy come postseason. We sit here and we get on Tibbs about, playing these guys too many minutes. when a guy is compromised, you don't want to throw him out there and open up the possibility of him getting injured even further, or complicating things and having him damage something else because he's compensating for the current injury. So I'd be open with him taking a seat. It'll allow us to see how Emmanuel Quickley can play once he's thrust into that starting role again. He's been playing phenomenal. What was it, the 3 games that Jaylen Brunson missed and Emmanuel Quickley had to start? He averaged, over 17 points per game in those outings. So he's shown the ability to handle running the show. And I don't want to do too much when it comes to Brunson and having him out there when he's compromised. Because one thing, the way Brunson plays, you have that shiftiness. He's not exactly quick, but he does put his foot down on the court and he cuts hard and things like that. So to have a compromised ankle, it could open up injuries to other parts of his lower body. And he also sacrifices his body a lot. So to have him out there, throwing himself in front of guys as they're driving and knowing he's already hurt, I'd rather him sit, get better, and then come back, I think, in our next game against Charlotte.
Yeah, the big picture is the playoffs. So keeping him, and like you said, not getting any further injury, let that injury heal, let him get a little rest because of the physicality, how he plays on both sides of the court. So that'd be a prudent move, and maybe give Deuce a little burn if he's out.
Yep. All right, so we have another weird stat that we want to get into. This one, again, is from Tom Piccolo. It says another weird one from the same team. Julius Randle's three-point percentage on passes from Jaylen Brunson, 62 of 24, which is 30.4%. And his three-point percentage on passes from Emmanuel Quickley is 37 of 79, which is 46.8%. So another weird stat we wanted to give you guys, just a little segment we wanted to do where we bring you guys some oddball stats. And thank you for Tom Piccolo for help supplying us with them.
Yeah, we got to get in Emmanuel Quickley mask for Jaylen Brunson.
You got to tell Jaylen Brunson to stop passing. Some people get mad at Jaylen Brunson for not passing the ball. Well, they're not hitting their shots, so keep cooking. Well, yeah. Keep putting shots up and keep making them, especially if you're going to be efficient.
Exactly.
Let's see what else we got going on in chat. JJ says, I'd sit him versus Charlotte also, winnable even without him. Yeah, I definitely see how he's failing if he were to miss this game. And if he was good enough to play, then, you'd trust the player, trust the athlete, and allow him to play. But other than that, if he still feels like he's tender or whatever the case may be, you sit him some more.
Yep. I see from Westchester's finest, Sherwin says Hart has an opt-out. Mm-hmm. Do you think he's a dumb man? He has a wife. She will convince him to opt out and get a pay raise. I don't know. He must have my wife then. What are you doing? So Thanks, Sherwin. Hope all is well with you and the family. He'll definitely opt out. But like we said, that back channel of CAA folks coming over in the trade and everything, I think they feel very confident they're going to be able to make a deal with him long term.
Yep. Also, before we wrap up on talking about IQ and him being 6th man of the year, I wanted to put something on screen real quick. Here we go. This is from Xavier Justin. I think he's a member of the Knicks Wall. And this one, he's talking about LeBron, as Foxy mentioned earlier. He says, where do the top all-in-one impact metrics land on the 6th man of the year race? Unanimously for IQ Godson. And here he's using LeBron. Quickley is, lo and behold, the best in terms of that stat. He's at plus 1.3. You look at some of the other options. Brogdon is at plus 0.26. Maxi's at minus 0.55. And then you've got Powell, who's at minus 0.79. And if you wanted to get a better understanding of how LeBron is calculated, it stands for, they love to nut hug LeBron. I don't understand why they have a stat named after him, but it's luck adjusted player estimate using a box prior regularized on off, and it's developed by B-Ball Index. Besides it being an on-off metric, LeBron also includes box score elements for an impact score measured per 100 possessions.
Exactly. So all of these different companies are trying to tweak that, a metric so it really is much more realistic to what's going on, whether it's the level of competition they're playing, etc. So regardless whether it's Hoopshype or now LeBron, IQ's the man for 6th man of the year. So we just hope he keeps it up. and brings home a trophy that he's well deserved.
Yep. Also, it says that we have over 200 in chat, but we only got 98 likes. Let's see if we can get two more. That'll shut us up for the rest of the stream. It'll get us to 100, and it'll be where we would like to be for this stream in terms of the metrics and things like that. So do us a solid, smash that like button. We greatly appreciate the support.
Yeah, and we're at 6.55 thousand subscribers. Thank you so much. We just blew past the 6.5. 7 is our lucky number. So, folks, if you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. If you haven't subscribed, as you can see, it's the one-stop shop for all Knicks news, rumors, and analysis. So please subscribe. Please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content, especially those shorts that Keith is getting out there. You know, if you can't catch it live, shout out to the replay gang. We love chopping it up in all those comments. And last but not least, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Should put that on a shirt. We appreciate all.
Hey, Paris said we missed 2 super chats.
Did we? Oh, Trish D just sent one. Thanks for another one. Great one, guys. Thank you. We really do appreciate that. Did we miss one?
I think I would rest Bruns tonight and leave Boston in fear of us. Did you read that one from?
We read that one, Paris.
I thought that. Yeah, let us know which ones. We're probably just write it in the chat, you know, and we'll reread it. But thank you so much. As you can tell, Trish D, thank you so much. Just sent a super chat. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Cormego, also my buddy.
Yep. Yeah, we got into this where IQ gets 22, 20, 18, and 18 mil descending. And I said 20 or 22 might be a little bit too steep for me. You know, try to bring that down. I don't know if I wanted to go into the low 20s, especially if he's coming off the bench.
Sherwin says Dickinson is long. I don't know if you're talking about the center on Michigan. I'm not sure, but if you are, yeah, he's long and slow.
All right, so now we've talked a lot about.
Did you get the Trish D super chat?
Yeah. I mentioned that one, I believe. If not, we'll mention it again. Thanks for another great one, guys. Thank you, Trish. We really do appreciate the support and your contributions to the live stream.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Paris says cool. Okay. Hey, thank you.
Yep. All right. So now we talked about the players. Let's talk about Tibbs a little bit. Tibbs. This is from Tommy Bear. Tibbs deserves his flowers. Knicks record 1 year ago today was 25-38, which was 13 games below 500. And now their record today is 38-27, which is 11 games over 500. And what's really stemmed this performance has been him shrinking that rotation. And I think it's helped him manage players much better. And I think it's also helped buoy some of the confidence of the players. You know, one of the guys we talked about earlier, Emmanuel Quickley, he's someone that I don't think he was too fond of Cam Reddish because those were two guys that were competing for each other's minutes. And once Cam was removed from the rotation and Quick didn't have that guy looking over his shoulder that could potentially usurp him in terms of his minutes and his role in the rotation, I think he definitely catapulted. He took off. And he's been running with it ever since. And, you know, especially in the game against the Heat when Jaylen Brunson got hurt, you know, I sent the text to JD and George, and I'm like, all right, Brunson is hurt. This is Emmanuel Quickley's moment to kind of step up and, you know, steady the ship and help get this victory alongside Randall. And I believe in that moment he had like, 2 threes, I think, or he had a 3 and a couple buckets. And he definitely was a steadying force for us, especially when we lost our top guy, weren't too sure if he was going to come back, and we were already on the road in a hostile environment. So, you know, the shrinking of the rotation has definitely helped, I think, the confidence of the players and just the synergy out there on the court.
Yeah, and like you said, through osmosis and just watching, you'll get better and better at that point guard position just by watching Jaylen.
Yep. Let's see what else we got going on with Tibbs. So this is the article from Zach Braziller from the New York Post. It says Tom Thibodeau's decision to trim Knicks rotation turns season around. Sometimes you lose rhythm if you're playing too many guys, Tibbs said. One major byproduct of Thibodeau's rotation and increased role for Emmanuel Quickley, who was having the best season of his young NBA career. So I kind of jumped the gun and got into Emmanuel Quickley, but you can see it's backed up also by this article from Zach Braziller. Quick has definitely, you know, turned on the Jets. and he's been playing well. He's been finishing at the basket. He's been knocking down threes, and he's been playing unselfish basketball. And also, we don't say it enough. I don't think it's the defense. He's been lock up, and I think he can continue to play like this. I don't think this is an anomaly. I don't think this is something that you would only see for this season. I think you look at some of the how effective he's been with not turning the ball over. He came into the league marketed as a shooter. So for him to be doing what he's doing now, I think this is something that we can see year over year. And I think we can see him get better year over year as long as he's given an opportunity and plays within the offense.
Yeah, I see him getting better, and also because of the rumors about him. This kid lives in the film room. He studies film. Like I said a while ago, I could see him in 15 years being a coach in the NBA. So he loves watching film. He loves getting better and loves putting in the time. So Tibbs loves gym rats. That he's there in the morning when he sees them. He's there after games shooting. He's there, with coaches going over, film and stuff like that. That's why we're seeing year after year over year, he keeps getting better. He's putting in the work.
Yep. And the fact that he's a hard worker. I mean, Tibbs has said it about the whole team. Got a bunch of gym rats, got a bunch of leaders in that locker room. And you talk about building a solid foundation in terms of the guys you want in your locker room. You want a bunch of leaders. I mean, look at some of the other teams around the league. You look at the Grizzlies. They clearly don't have a leader with the way Dylan Brooks is out there acting like a menace, acting like he's a bully and doing crazy stuff out there on the court. And then you look at the jam that Josh got himself in now with all of the bad publicity with the way he's been acting outside or away from the team, and also what he was doing, flashing weapons in the club and all that. They clearly are missing a veteran presence and solid leadership. And I think with us, we don't really have much of that. We got a bunch of family guys that are gonna put the work in. They're team first. You hear Quentin Grimes, him not worried about potentially losing some minutes out there. He's worried about the team being solid and playing well. So we need more guys like that on this roster, and Quick is definitely one of them.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Did Brendan Clark blow out his ACL, his Achilles yesterday?
I believe so. That's why, and he's out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So Memphis is between a couple other things.
Yeah, Brooks got suspended because of his 16th tech. Crazy. Okay.
Yeah, but they were 24-6 with Trey Jones, and he has a lot of Jaylen Brunson in him as a stabilizing force. So hopefully, Memphis is a tough team. We talked early streams this year that was the type of team that we would like to model against. And lo and behold, we are. We're dogs now with Josh and Brunson. We're a totally different team. So we'll see as the season goes on. But it's very alien to me when you're on top of the world like Ja and you're doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. You work all your life to get out of those situations, and there you go trying to, attract those situations to you. It's crazy, man.
It's a shame.
Really nuts. So let's see what else we got going on in chat. Lex Destroyer says IQ is a dog. E. Gibson says, I think the Brunsons have had a big impact in a short time here. They are changing our culture. Then in terms of wins and losses, the Hart sign was huge. Facts.
For sure.
Yeah, both Brunsons. I like to see, Papa Brunson out there cheering us on as well. You've seen him, pull guys to the side and help them throughout the year as well.
He don't play, or you see him when he's talking to Rebecca Harlow after the first half, what we have to do. I like him. I like him a lot. You don't play, and you can see why Jalen is who he is, man. It's like, this is business. We take this shit serious. Yep. Shout out to DeRoss, my buddy. Hope all is well. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, we really do appreciate the support.
Hey, folks, I don't know if you've checked out the film breakdowns from my buddy here, Keys. He's done some brilliant film breakdowns using latest technology. Please check him out if you haven't, and he'll be dropping more of them. Just absolute fantastic work. Kudos, my friend.
Thank you for that, Fox. We really do appreciate it. See what else we got going on in chat before we move forward. Kenny Adams says, any word if Jalen Brunson is playing tonight? I still haven't heard anything. Hopefully, we surveyed 100 people, pulls up to the stream. He's normally the one that gets us that information while we're on stream. If not, maybe I'll drop a comment on the community post for this live and give you guys an update that way, because typically they kind of withhold that information.
Yeah, But if there were rumors, usually, whether it's Katz, whether it's Begley, whether it's, Tommy Beer or all of them, or even Woj, we would have heard something, I think, by now if there was some speculation that he may miss the game.
Well, Suarez says he's shut down for tonight, so let's see. I don't even have this computer's keyboard in front of me. Let me see. Go over to Twitter, see if I can pull up anything real quick. They're honking like crazy outside. You can hear that, Foxy?
No, I'm coughing. I'm honking in here. It's like I'm trying tea. I'm trying water. This old throat of mine is all dried out.
Some rum and Red Bull.
Yo, I'm still on that red stripe from last week.
24 minutes ago, Ian Begley, Knicks say Jaylen Brunson is out tonight versus Boston due to a sore left foot. Now, is that the same foot he injured? I feel like he turned the other one. Or maybe I'm bugging.
Wow. So, all right. That's what a season's about. Let him heal that up and come out as dogs. Yep. And folks, I know this is crazy, but anything's possible with Tibbs. Last year, we saw the craziness in playing Alec Burks. Don't be surprised if you see Josh Hart. He has great vision. He has playmaking instincts that are off the chart. Don't be surprised he throws him there, man.
Yep, and see what he can do. Especially maybe when, because Quick will be elevated to the starting lineup. That's what we would assume. That would make the most sense. So with that second unit, they may need someone that's going to be out there to initiate the offense. So RJ has shown at times he's been able to do it. And I think Josh Hart is also someone that can help out with some of those playmaking responsibilities. Even Quentin Grimes. If he's staggered with that second unit, he's shown the ability to put the ball on the floor. He did it a lot in Summer League. He does it now when he's, catching the ball, puts the ball on the floor, attacking closeouts, and things like that. So we have options. There's a lot of versatility with this team offensively. For some reason, we get a little bit too enamored with the ISO ball. But, I mean, that's kind of the way of the league now, unfortunately. If you watch the Suns versus Mav games, there's a whole bunch of ISO ball there as well. So, hopefully we don't get too in love with it, especially seeing that our main guy that's able to cook in that regard and Jalen Brunson will be unavailable. But if we can continue to move the rock and attack teams as they're trying to rotate on defense, Hart can do it efficiently. Grimes can do it efficiently. RJ, he can do it. Even Deuce, Deuce was starting to percolate before we made that trade for Josh Hart. So now with
next man up.
With Brunson being out, you would expect Deuce to come and get maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Who knows? So definitely we'll be seeing some of the depth of this team tonight with Jaylen Brunson out. And hopefully he'll be able to rest up and be available for the game against Charlotte. And if not, I'm fully I got a lot of trust in this team that we can try to make up some of the production that we're going to lose from Brunson. We're not going to make up all of it, but if we are able to step up our defense with a guy like Deuce being introduced into the lineup, I think that's going to be where we might have to go in order to succeed tonight.
And a quick shout out to Eddie Suarez. Hope all is well. Sincere the Genius. We have another super chat.
From Buzzer Beater?
Yep.
Buzzer Beater says, love the game analysis vids. I meant Nat Clifton. I guess in terms of the Sweetwater.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now I have this slide up on screen. This is the breakdown of the 9-man rotation and the position estimates in terms of what position these guys are playing in. You'll see Brunson, he's playing 100% of the minutes he's out there on the court at point guard. No surprise there. Quentin Grimes, he's been splitting time between shooting guard and small forward. 58% of his time is at the shooting guard position. 42% of the time he's at small forward. Same thing with RJ Barrett. You see him splitting his time between shooting guard and small forward. 23% of his time is at the shooting guard position, and then 75% of his time is at the small forward position. And you can see there's a few guys on this roster that can play multiple positions. Josh Hart, he's the same way. 41% of his minutes out there on the court are at shooting guard, and then 59% are at small forward. So you really see the ability of this, of the versatility of this squad with those three guys being able to play multiple positions out there on the wing. And it also helps if we need to switch or if we get caught up. I did in one of my film breakdowns, you were able to see that, Quickley, who played 75% of his minutes at shooting guard, was able to do a nice switch with Josh Hart and switch on to Jason Tatum to help corral him after they set, a double screen to try and get him open. So the fact that these guys can switch, be playing solid defense, they're vocal out there on the court, it really helps with this 9-man rotation because now we get to have multiple guys out there on the court together that can do different things and also maintain that defensive integrity, especially out there on the perimeter. Grimes, Quick, Hart, all plus defenders. RJ Barrett, you hope he can get there one day. So, if he takes that step defensively, then watch out, man. This team is going to be giving teams hell.
Next year, if we just add a 6'8" wing here, then we are perfect.
Yep. And if we do add that 6'8" wing, and maybe in the draft this season, or it could be, trading a guy like RJ Barrett in order to make that happen, especially with the way he's been struggling this season. I mean, you look at what we have to pay for a guy like Emmanuel Quickley, a guy like Josh Hart. RJ Barrett may be that odd man out in terms of moving that salary and trying to bring in someone that kind of fits with this team a little better, especially defensively, and could be a little bit more consistent knocking down the three.
That's a great point. And I think also, I don't know if you have access to it, but the usage of RJ and what the impact of his usage when you have Jaylen and you have and Randall, that it's very, very difficult. When you brought up ISO a few minutes ago, I was smiling because, watching the Mavs the other day with Kyrie and with Luka, you think anybody else on that team's getting much touches? Mm-hmm. And like you brought up, so folks, right now the usage. Do you have the one of the starters usage first?
Not this one. The other one.
Yeah, the other one, and then we go right back to this one.
All right, give me 1 sec.
Because I think it'll show you folks that, from telling a story that, when you're doing roster construction, you have no problem. And we just talked about the guys, whether Luka, but on this team, Jalen Brunson is an all-star. I don't care, he's an all-star, and Julius Randle's an all-star. Thank you. So we have, you see 27% of usage for Jalen Brunson, 29% for Julius Randle, and RJ is 26%. And so if you add up Brunson, RJ, and Julius, that's 82.1%. So if you add up all of the starters right now, it's over 105%. So somebody is not getting touches. And most of the time we're saying, damn, Quentin only got 4 shots for the whole game. And with Mitch and everything, that's his game. Not pretty much, it's just put back. So, but RJ, for his efficiency or lack of efficiency, 26% is way too high. It's way too high for what he's been producing in terms of usage. And if you could go to the next slide, the one that you just had up previously. So with that mentality, folks, that if we have 3 guys, Brunson 27, Randle 29-1, and then the 26, so if we're taking a step back about rosters, how we can make this roster better, and we're thinking about adding a wing. So we're saying if Brunson, RJ, and Randle's usage is 82%, and the reality is we can't sign an elite 3 and D because they won't, so if we have 82%, just adding OG makes it, let's say in a world that we traded Obi and picks and kept RJ, that's over 100% there. And we're not even talking about a center getting any touches. And Mikal Bridges is 26%. So then you have to say to yourself, okay, let's take a step back then. If we can't do that, so we have the type of distribution is necessary, maybe we go to a second line 3 and D wing. So Trey Murphy has only 16 and Herb Jones, who's an absolute lockdown. So with the mentality saying, if we have a Herb Jones and if we had RJ here, then Grimes is going to have to go to the second team. RJ is going to have to go to the 2 with Herb Jones now being the 3. But it's just saying that RJ, like Keith just said, at the end of this season, unless he picks it up, but more than anything on the defensive side, it's very difficult for us to have a wing because of usage with RJ there. Jalen earns that usage. Randall has earned that usage. Unfortunately, RJ has not, in his 4th year, shown that he should be getting 1 percentage point under Jalen Brunson's usage.
I mean, I hear you on that one. We definitely would probably be better getting a guy like Trey Murphy or Herbert Jones, someone that doesn't need the ball in their hand and it can still make plays outside of, dribble, 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 ISO crazy. Let's try and only make a play for myself. But I think we could still bring in a guy like Mikal Bridges because Mikal Bridges, you saw, was able to take a backseat in somewhere like
It's
Phoenix
true.
to Chris Paul, to Devin Booker, to DeAndre Ayton. So someone like him who was willing to sacrifice his game for the betterment of the team, we probably would be able to be fine with. But OG and Anobi, I would definitely agree with you because that's why I was against trading for OG a little bit because he wants a larger role in the offense, and if he comes here, he's just not going to have that opportunity. So he might be somebody that we have to look and try and go elsewhere if we want to fill that hole out there on the wing. But I think Mikal Bridges, he's a selfless guy. He's got a rapport with both Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. I think he would be able to do what it takes in order to sacrifice his game and in order to win a common goal, which is to win a championship. So I think Mikal might be a special situation there. But outside of that, I totally agree. We do need somebody that's not going to try to hog the ball up as well and just kind of have a slightly less usage than what we're seeing from RJ Barrett, especially if Brunson and Randall are going to continue to cook.
I agree with you. Forget about OG and Mikel. He's a Villanova boy, so he's going to do what's best for the team. But the way he's balling out, I doubt that the Nets would even consider now
Yeah.
getting rid of him. He has to be a foundational piece for them. That's why we changed our thing, saying, okay, if those guys, one that you don't want and the one you do want, but probably you're not going to be able to get, then maybe we put our eyes and assets someplace else. To somebody like the Pelicans that have Zion old, and they have Ingram and they have CJ. Just that's $100 million. Those three guys.
Hmm.
So you have, there's a lot of money that they have, where's all the money is going to go? So maybe that's an area that we look at for upgrading because there's nobody that's going to be in this draft that's going to be as good as Trey Murphy right off the bat and or Herb Jones on the defensive side.
Yeah, totally agree with you there, Foxy. Let's see what we got going on in chat. Trish D says they'll never give him up to us. Yeah, that's the big thing with Bridges being on the Nets. I highly doubt they'll want to work with us in order to help us bring a championship to New York. When they were talking all that crap, saying they were going to be the team that was going to bring a W and bring a championship to the great city of NY. So it'll be hard. That'll be a big hurdle for us to try to overcome. But listen, I can pray and hope. Fingers crossed. If a deal can be done within reason, then the Knicks should definitely entertain it, regardless of the quote unquote crosstown rivalry.
Yeah. And so whether Sherwin and Trish D, we agree with you, man. We can't see them giving them up.
Yep, and we are talking about Tibbs giving him his flowers. Let's see how he shapes up with some of the other coaches in terms of the race for NBA Coach of the Year. Now, Tibbs already won it once here with the squad, and with the way we've kind of rebounded from the poor performance last season, you can definitely see Tom Thibodeau getting some votes for NBA Coach of the Year, and you can see who his comp is. You've got Joe Mazzulla, who's been doing great things with the Celtics over in Boston. Mike Brown has completely changed the perception of the Sacramento Kings. They're another team like us. A lot of franchises and a lot of fans around the league look down at the Sacramento Kings as a dysfunctional franchise. I mean, they went and they drafted a center in like 3 straight drafts, and then they went and drafted small point guards in another 3 straight drafts. So nobody knew what the hell they were doing over there. But now they've started to figure things out with De'Aaron Fox doing his thing, and things
Keegan
like
Murray.
bonus. Keegan Murray has been playing solid. So they're definitely a team
Bonus.
that's been playing well, and Brown could find himself getting a lot of Coach of the Year votes. Mike Malone, he's been doing a stellar job in the regular season. I don't think the regular season has ever been an issue for the Nuggets. They always show up. It's been the postseason where they've kind of faltered, but the Coach of the Year is a regular season award, so he could be in the running. Taylor Jenkins, things have kind of derailed now with the fact that the Grizzlies are losing their mind over there in Memphis. So, he might fall down in terms of the pecking order for Coach of the Year, but he's still going to receive some votes, I would assume. I think the Grizzlies are still, the second seed I mean, the second, the
They
second
are
seed
second.
in the Western Conference, so you expect him to get some votes. And Jack Vaughn, he'll probably fall off big time with the loss of KD and Kyrie. I think the reason he was going to get votes is the fact that he was able to deal with the amount of issues that was going on out there in Brooklyn. But I expect the Nets to kind of struggle for the remaining portion of this season and kind of fall out of not say playoff contention, but they might start to factor a little bit more when it comes to play in contention. So he might fall back in terms of Coach of the Year voting. So Tom Thibodeau is definitely positioning himself to be in the running for another Coach of the Year award.
Yeah, and folks, we hope it goes a little viral. That during the week we went over to some of the betting, parlors, let's say, and looked at their stats.
Mm-hmm.
Tibbs wasn't on the list.
It's crazy.
Crazy. So that's why it's like saying, "Yo, somebody please pick this up." We talked about, hopefully, Randall made the All-Star game. We were pushing for Jalen, voted. That didn't work out, but man, you got to give flowers to Tibbs. He's made changes. He's showing. Keith brought up a great thing earlier this year that we expect development from our players, but what about development? Developing on our coaching. Tom is showing that he's changing, so we have to respect that, and he absolutely should be in consideration as we continue this trajectory for NBA Coach of the Year.
Yep. And I'll admit, I'm still not a big fan of Tom Thibodeau, but at least I can give the man the respect he deserves by saying he's helped turn his team around, especially following that shrinking of the rotation to 9-man. So he should definitely be getting some votes for Coach of the Year. So for him not to be I wouldn't even say a betting favorite. He doesn't have to be a betting favorite, but for him to not even have some odds listed in certain places as if it's impossible for him to get that award, I think is kind of nuts.
I think the players that we love his hardness because they're like, it's not personal with Tom. He just wants you to be the best you can. And I mean, he'll turn you off. And we saw that with Cam and a few other players that if he doesn't think that you're trying the hardest you can to be the best you can, then he ain't going to try that hard. He's not going to look your way. But if he loves Deuce because he sees him early there. He's trying his hardest, this guy. He loves guys like that. So, and you could see whether it was Brunson would giving him the fist pump the other night, looking at each other, and they had a smile with each other. The players, they actually, Randall, they really like Tibbs as a person.
Mm-hmm. Until he almost killed Tibbs, though, ran him over after that 3-point shot. That was crazy.
He steamrolled.
Yo, I'm like, yo, is Tibbs gonna be on the injury report? Is he listed as day to day? Because what's going on here, man? He's up there in age. You can't hit the floor like that.
I know. I said, Tibbs turned around. Somebody get the license plate in that truck. I'm telling you, man.
Listen, if Tibbs needs somebody to X-ray him, just hit me up.
At any hour of the night.
Any hour of the night. Business inquiries. Just let me know via email. I'll pull up to the crib, take an email, take a X-ray. Nobody will have to know. We'll keep it incognito, and we'll be good to go.
As long as it's not Saturday nights when Keith and I are watching MMA fights together.
Yeah, man. That was a hell of a card yesterday.
Yo, John Jones choked that guy out in no time. Keith and I were like saying, yo, it's over. What? Somebody paid $80 for this?
Yeah. Well, you know me. I watched that for free. You're right. Because I was still working at that time. I'm like, I'm not paying 80 or whatever it is, $80 or whatever they charge you nowadays while I'm not even in the comfort of my home. I'm watching that for free. And it was on YouTube.
Yeah, it was crazy, man.
Yeah. Nuts, man. Let's see what else we got going on in chat. Anybody want to give a shout out to, Foxy?
Jay, I hope all is well. Let's see. Wilson Dang. Hey, I've talked with Wilson for years. Love talking draft with him. Always asking questions about the draft. We have a lot of draft stuff coming up later this year, Keith and I. So just finished my latest big board and my top 5 or top 6 top 6 players by position. I saw Sherwin earlier talked about the Indiana guard Shafino. So so we love talking draft, and we'll have a lot of great draft shows to talk to you about.
Yep, we got some draft shows in the works. Foxy has been bringing forward some prospects. We'll get into them, do some deep dives, and see how they'll fit in with this team. Maybe we'll do a special stream where it's just strictly draft talk, or we'll try to incorporate it for maybe like the last quarter or the last half of a Sunday stream. But we'll discuss it and see what works best for the channel.
Absolutely.
And speaking of Tibbs and how this team has been performing, and just looking at how we've been over the last 3 months or so when we shrunk the rotation, let's look at the team rankings. So in points, we are ninth at 115.6. Rebounds, we're third at 47 rebounds. Assists, 21.7. Still something we got to work on. 30th. Field goal percentage, we're at 47.2, which is 16th. 3-point percentage, we're at 37%, which is 9th. Free throw percentage, we're at 75.4, which is 24th.
And folks on the right, what we wanted to do is, again, we're using the mentality of when he made that 9-man rotation change. So if you look up right now, people are going, well, wait, no, we're 14th in points. Not, since we made the change, we're actually 9th. So we're just showing, so the numbers on the side, so like the foul total, and that's the one area that I'll focus on this slide, folks, that I keep using the term haunt. This will come back to haunt us. We're doing all these other elements really well, but once you get to the playoffs, that foul shooting will kill us. So please, guys, chill out, enjoy yourself, just keep shooting that muscle memory in the gym, get those foul shooting up. But you can see that we're 9th now in 3-point shooting since December 4th from 23rd. So you're seeing from 14th to 9th, from 3rd, so, and again, in assists, who's 29th in assists? Dallas. So we got to get those assists up, and but we're making major strides since he made that major change, folks. But please hit those foul shots, man. Please.
Which game did we have the 28 assists? Was it against the Nets?
I'll tell you in a sec.
Let me see if I could pull the box score. I think it was against the Nets. We were actually moving the ball. We were killing them from 3. Yep, against the Nets. 142-118. So we need some more of that ball moving we saw in that game. That's the type of offensive flow I like to see from the squad. There's going to be times where you're going to have somebody. Oh, shit. Oopsie. There's going to be times where you're going to have times where you have to go ISO and you have to, go through or play through your best player in Brunson or in Randall. But for the most part, you have to move the ball and get some quality looks. And I think if we can continue to move the ball, it's going to be dangerous. It's going to be difficult for teams to match up with us because Quentin Grimes, he's been knocking down the 3 a little bit better over the last few games. Brunson's killer from 3. Randall's killer from 3. Josh Hart, we showed he's shooting 60% from 3. So this team is dangerous when we're getting open looks, and we're dangerous when we're attacking closeouts. And for us to get those quality looks and be in those advantageous positions, we've got to move the rock from one side of the court to the other in order to open up some of those lanes. And if we can do that, you're going to see this postseason. It's going to be, I won't say it'll be a lot easier than if we were to just try and play hero ball all the time.
Yeah, and we mentioned it earlier, but this is a perfect thing with when we had the 28 assists. Josh Hart had 5 assists in that game. So the more you put him, especially in crunch time and stuff like that, he makes the players around them better. That's why last week when we showed even 2 different methodologies, he, it was all green, on offense, on defense, his net rating, he's a winner. And he moves the ball and he sees the floor so well. Although I wish he wouldn't pass to iHeart so much. The intentions are well, but the hands are not there. So, but
it's a little still better than Nerlens, though. If we made it through Nerlens, we'll make it with iHeart. At least iHeart is giving you something.
Yeah, I know, man. Those Nerlens hands will never be forgotten. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. He's still a free agent, right? Nobody picked him up.
Yeah, well, I think they were asking for a hand transplant first.
You hear something playing, Foxy?
Pardon?
You hear something playing in the background?
No, I don't.
All right, just me then. So now let's look at some of the analytics. So in the same span, those 42 games, you can see offensive rating, we're 3rd. Defensive rating, we're 4th. Net rating, we're 1st. Offensive effective field goal percentage, we're 13th. Defensive effective field goal percentage, we're 3rd. And then pace, we're still slow as hell at 30th. But you can see the advanced analytics have loved this team over the last 42 games ever since we shrunk that rotation. So if we can continue to perform like this heading into the playoffs, I keep saying this team is going to be dangerous. Teams are not going to want to face us. And at least statistically, it shows that we have a more than a fighting chance in any series in which we're involved. We just have to be there mentally focused, and Tibbs is going to have to dial up the right offensive and defensive game plan based on matchups.
Yeah. When Keith and I were getting ready for this show and we created this slide, folks, this is the slide. We looked at each other and like Keith just said, whoa, this is a dangerous team. Third in offensive rating, fourth in defensive rating, first in net rating, the 13th in the field goal, but third in defensive Wow, we're not really, focused on the pace because other teams, really good teams, have slow pace. So that doesn't. But the other elements, folks, since the 42 games was a Fredkin. I think it was Tommy Beer that said, "Yo, that's a big sample, folks. This is not just a little blip. This is who we are." And we were saying for a while ago, we're going to go as far. We showed a few weeks ago, Dallas made the Eastern Conference Finals, and we showed their offensive rating, defensive rating. We're there. You said we got to pick it up. So we're going to continue this because of the guys we had. The only thing that we were asking is Jalen's out tonight. Let's just hope he comes back, gets back into form, give him the time off, and let's make that run with a healthy ankle or foot.
Yeah, I still want to dive a little bit deeper into what's the issue because I felt like it was the other foot. No, I'm bugging. Maybe I'm bugging. Maybe I got to rewatch it. But Han also mentioned that he thought it was the other foot as well. So maybe I'm not just tripping.
Hopefully and he had a sore foot injury. He had a sore foot last year, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so hopefully it's nothing too serious. If he has to miss a couple games, you'll live with it. Luckily, we've been picking up all these wins, 8 in a row. You can afford to, I won't say afford to lose a game, but you can afford to enter a game without your best player when you've been playing so well heading into that game, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does.
All right, cool. Anybody else want to give a shout out to in chat?
Matishell, shout out to y'all. We appreciate it. Nice. That on RJ contract no one will touch with a 20-inch pole.
Calling him the Grinch now?
Pardon?
He's calling him the Grinch now?
Yeah, really. Exactly. Unk says Nerlens should have feet attached to his wrist.
Probably might be more effective, too, if he had it like that.
Yo, you're not kidding, man. I'm going to have nightmares thinking about that tonight.
All right, so one player that I don't think we've talked about too much so far this stream that we really want to give a shout out to is Mitchell Robinson. Now, when we made the trade for Josh Hart, everybody was like, oh, man, can't wait until we see Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson out there on the floor together. And, that's because Mitchell Robinson has been a beast defensively so far this season. And if you want to understand how good he's been for the Knicks when you have to replace him with somebody else in the lineup, I think this graphic is definitely going to show you. So as you can see with the lineup, if you replace Mitchell Robinson with Jericho Sims, there is a massive drop-off in terms of defensive points per possession, offensive points per possession, differential, and it just shows, not to give Jericho Sims any flack. He did an admirable job in Mitchell Robinson's stay, but Mitchell Robinson is just a different beast out there, and this team is just much more formidable when you got Mitchell Robinson patrolling the paint, whether it be his elite ability to offensive rebound, his tenacity on defense to get blocks and to force other guys to adjust their mindset when they're attacking the paint. It just completely changes the way this team plays defensively and also makes us that much more dangerous offensively. So Mitchell Robinson, by far one of my most favorite Knicks. I think he's also the longest tenured Knick so far too. So Mitchell Robinson is definitely showing why he's so valuable. I know some people were against, giving him his money, but I think he's been more than he's been showing that that contract was warranted. Because I think if you look at other comparables, they're not as valuable to their team as Mitchell Robinson is to us.
You brought up earlier Brunson with a descending contract, so does Mitch. But folks, looking at that visual, 4 out of the 5 guys on those two lineups are the same. So the only difference is Mitch to Jericho. And when you have 944 possessions to 433 possessions is a huge sample. So it's just showing, it just jumps off the page when we looked at these numbers like, wow, this really, we can't wait to share this with the SV Nation. This really illustrates the impact of Mitch on this team. And like you said, valiant effort by Jericho, but he's a 6'9" guy that could jump through the roof. And we saw against a couple of teams that it's a difference of being a real 7-footer in this league. He gets some blocks, but he rebounds but there's times when you're watching the game, he looks like a deer in the headlights. Like he's not processing what the hell's going on the court, and that's maybe why Hart it plays more. He may have started during that stretch when Mitch was out with the hand injury, but Hart came in here, but he doesn't seem sometimes that he processes what the hell's going on, what he should be doing, and the numbers show that was a good observation. That's 12-point difference. That's over 12 points, folks.
Yep. And not to dog on Jericho Sims or anything. He was serviceable when he was in.
It's a 58th pick.
Lineup. Exactly. You look at where he was drafted. There's only so much you can expect from him. So the fact that he's able to start, I think, is admirable in itself. But it just shows you how impactful Mitchell Robinson is when you insert him into the lineup. Because remember last year, people were saying, you have Jericho Sims out there, you probably see the same level of production as if Mitchell Robinson was in there. Well, no, that's not the case. And I think the numbers more than prove it. They show that Mitchell Robinson is probably one of the most impactful centers in the league. There's guys like Jokic, of course, who does things that Mitchell Robinson couldn't dream to do. But in terms of what we ask Mitchell Robinson to do for this squad, I don't think there's going to be there's not too many other centers that'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I see Nice as Sims just needs more time. I'm with you, but just wanted to plant the seed as a basketball analyst is that Sims and Mitch are the same age. Sims came out as a senior, folks. So he's the same age as Mitch. What is his ceiling? So it's not like he came out as a one and done, and we're watching him. So, and also at Texas, we talked about, Miles Turner, Jackson Hayes, and a few of the other, Texas centers that hopefully that he was playing with in off season to get better. But so I'm looking for him to get better. But I think also it'd be prudent for the Knicks to look long term, maybe adding to that center position.
Facts. So again, not saying anything negative about Jericho Sims, just in comparison to Mitchell Robinson, there just really isn't any comparison. And since we've been talking a little bit about award season, want to talk about Jaylen Brunson because he could be up for some awards too. Some might say he might be up for MVP, but I would say he could be also up for comeback player of the year. No,
most improved.
Most improved. I'm sorry. He could be most improved player of the year. So I just want to put this visual on screen. You can see Jaylen Brunson compared to some of the other guys. I think Bleacher Report also talked about some of the guys that have been making the biggest leap so far this season. You've got Laurie, you've got SGA, you've got Brunson, you've got Halliburton, and you've got Anthony Simons, all guys that have been playing solid so far and have definitely stepped up their level of play from the season before. But I think Jaylen Brunson, he's doing that on a team that has, deep playoff aspirations and could actually, succeed in those endeavors. Halliburton, the Pacers have kind of fallen back as the season has progressed. Simons, the Trailblazers are in no man's land. They've got Lillard going crazy, but for the most part, they're not really winning games. Laurie and, the Jazz have been playing, solid for the most part, but they've tapered off as well. And SGA, he's been killing. He's been going crazy for the Thunder, but I think, they're not in a position where, his improvement has really catapulted them into potential, deep playoff run territory. Look at Jaylen Brunson. He's been able to do that. He's been able to step up his level of play after being moved from a bench role into an actual starting role on a solid team. And he's been able to help, put them in a position where us reaching the Eastern Conference Final wouldn't be foreign to any of us. I think it would be something that we would say not that we expect it, but it's something that wouldn't surprise us with the way this team has been playing in their last 42 some odd games. So for me personally, I think Jalen Brunson should be one of the favorites for most improved.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that the people that vote on this, they just don't go by points per game, field goal percentage, and 3 point. What's the impact that he's had on this team is such is at a whole nother galaxy than the other guys that are there. Shea, like you said, is having a great season, but they're picking the lottery. Laurie, like you said, Halliburton, Indiana sucks. Anthony, great game, but look at the plus minus. So Jalen, the impact. No, it's crazy. Hey, shout out to Cam. He's had some good games, and I'm happy he's a young man. We only wish the best for him. But 25 points, but minus 18. That defense thing is always going to come back at you. Jalen, they have to give a different look for Jalen. The numbers are there, folks. But, man, the impact he's had on the team, he has, I can't see how he can't be at the number one spot with the bookies.
Yeah, definitely. If you are going to be making some bets, definitely I'd put some couple bucks on Brunson.
Yeah, I'll call my Uncle Vito in Brooklyn. We'll get Brunson to win.
Fingers crossed on that one. Anybody want to give a shout out to in chat, Foxy?
David Smith. The only awards I care about are Knicks advancing in playoffs. Word. Well said, David.
Honestly, though, I do like when our guys win awards because it helps. It's confidence boosting.
It is a confidence boost. That's why with IQ, it would change. It's about believing in yourself, and that's why it makes it. Why Grimes at the Rising Stars game, I belong here. He got robbed of the MVP there. No harsh words against Alvarado, but it's about knowing that you belong in this league. It's crazy. A year or so ago, you're playing at Houston or you're playing at Kentucky, and then a year later, you're watching LeBron shooting foul shots. That has to have an impact on you, man. And then all of a sudden one day you realize, no, I belong here. Changes everything. So those awards do make a difference.
Yep. So Foxy, before we wrap it up, I wanted to get into your draft target. Normally at the end of the streams, we get into a draft target that Foxy brings forward, and we discuss and see how he could potentially fit with the Knicks and where we're drafting. So who is that player you brought forward today?
The player, I wasn't expecting it, but a play happened in the Knick game the other day where Mitch went down. Clyde said something, and I was like, oh, God, thank God Mitch got up. But it really impacted me that every game, there's all of us say a Hail Mary full of grace that Mitch is going to be able to get up and that he's not injured again. And so the player that I'm going to bring up today is Derek Lively out of Duke. So, he's 7'1". There's speculation from 7'5" to 7'7" wingspan. We'll find out at the combine. Player comparison is a Tyson Chandler. He is incredibly mobile. You can't teach that wingspan. As you can see, 2.3 blocks a game. At this point now, he's starting to feel himself. It's very hard at Duke, with all those players. He has Filipowski there who also plays there. So it's very difficult for guys to really shine. But you can't teach that. He's a shot blocker. And Tibbs loves elite shot blockers and rim protectors. Isaiah Hartenstein has had a great year. He's been a great pickup. But next year is his last year of his contract. So I've been talking about this every week to different players that they're kind of like stash picks. So, and no offense against Jericho Sims, but this is a real 7-footer, and he's very mobile. He's got great feet. You can play the perimeter, so he gives you a whole lot. And even though you see that he's only taken 12 3-pointers this year, so it's 8.3%, but his form's there. More Dallas loses. I don't know if I pick Lively there. Maybe I drop down. I think it's 17 right now, 17 or 16 where we're picking, and maybe that's a little high for Derek Lively. But he has certain elements that you can't teach. And, that shot blocking is right up Tibbs' alley. And I'm just thinking for long term for the Knicks, God forbid Mitch goes down, we really need a rim protector. We saw what had happened with when we had Nerlens, even with those hands, he was dynamite with that shot blocking. So, hey, Mitch has been in this league 5 years and he hasn't shown anything on the offensive side. So I'm not worried about that, but this kid could be, for small spurts, especially with Othello Harrington and getting coached up, he could be something. So just wanted to share it with you. Great mobility, great size, great length, sees the floor well. And just over the next few years, as everybody that comes into league, as he gets strong, he has the frame to add weight both on the legs and the shoulders. This past year, folks, I said that I would not have given Mitch the contract. And I wanted us to select a guy, Mark Williams, out of Duke. That's who Derek Lively replaced. Well, Mark Williams is averaging 8.5 points a game, 6.5 rebounds a game, shooting 73% from the line, 1.1 blocks a game in like 17 minutes. So, so something I think would be a very prudent move for the Knicks to think about is shoring up with Mitch's injury history, having another rim protector. So that's who I wanted to share with you today. And we have another one next week that'll be coming. But it'd be a smart move for us to think about with Mitch's injury history, getting some insurance.
Yeah, I mean, you can see already that he has a pretty long wingspan, even though they haven't gotten to the final number. I mean, he's 7'1", and just off that photo alone, he's got hands that come down to his knees. That's kind of crazy.
He had 8 blocks like a week or so ago. So like we were saying, man, he's very athletic. He's an above the rim player. So he's super athletic, has great feet, he's mobile, and with that wingspan, he could be something, man. So next year we have both Mitch and Hart, but in 2 years, with tutelage and stuff, and again, don't mean anything against Jericho, but Jericho can't block shots like this kid.
And where do you probably see him being drafted? You say you don't see him going as high as 18. Where did you see him going?
It depends. Remember, March Madness is coming up, so everything can change. If he balls out with 3, we saw with Walker Kessler this year. Walker Kessler, folks, Walker Kessler had 5.5 blocks last year, but everybody looked at him like he's Herman Munster. He's had a phenomenal year with Utah, with that long, giant reach. It could be and I just brought up Mark Williams, these guys with these 7'7", 7'5", 7'7" wingspans. It's game. I don't know if Time Lord's playing tonight, but how many plays have we seen going against Boston? Like, how the hell did he block that? 7'5" wingspan on Robert Williams. That's how the hell he blocked that. Can't teach it. He has it, and he's mobile and athletic. So with great feet. So it's something to think about.
So right now, if you had to guess, you would say he'd be somewhere in the 20s? Because remember, if the Wizards make the playoffs, we get their pick. So even if you don't see him as high as wherever the Mavs are going to be drafted, maybe he might be somewhere, if the Wizards have a little run or something, he might be somewhere where we could either make a pick with the highest selection and trade back and still get him.
That's our specialty. That's why I was going to say that we trade back with our eye on picking him up. We're really good in the 25th range.
Yeah, right? That's some more, though, because they're not getting many minutes, especially with Tibbs here. They're going to have to prove themselves by year 3. Because look at it. Year 3 is when we're getting most of these guys their minutes, except for Grimes. Grimes is in year 2. So, it is what
why?
It is.
Because of defense. Yep. So this is a guy that would immediately, I'm telling you, in practice, Tibbs would salivate. Tibbs loves elite rim protectors. And this guy, under the right tutelage, could be a really, with that athleticism and reach, man. I'm telling you, the 8 blocks the other day, he had 3 last night. This type of guy, he doesn't leave his feet and he still blocks shots.
That's like, what's the guy in Detroit? He blocked RJ without having to jump. I don't know why his name slips me. It's Patrick Stewart.
Oh, yeah. Isaiah. Patrick's on the Star Trek.
I called him Professor X.
Exactly. X-Men.
That's what was going through my mind. Oh man, I'm losing it. I'm losing it.
You drinking my moonshine?
Yeah, I'm acting like I'm drinking water, but it's really wine out of a Solo cup.
I love partying with you. I love you, and I love the SB Nation.
Oh man, I'm losing my mind. But so,
hey, you want to hear something crazy?
Yeah,
though?
shoot.
You know who's I think second in the league for centers and double doubles?
Who?
Jaylen Brunson.
Another guy you wanted us to draft, right?
So it's just meaning. So that's why
we did draft him.
And we did, exactly. So these athletic guys, and you know what, folks? Things could happen. If Detroit selects Wembayama, what the hell are they going to do with Durant?
Have him come off the bench and they'll get rid of Stewart.
Yeah.
That's what
Light Galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Who do they have playing at the 4 there? What's his face? Begley? Or they have him playing something else?
Yeah.
Begley, then they could always have Wembayama come off.
And I'm sure Stewart, but also Wembayama may have to play the 4 because he's so freaking small. Well, hey, man, I was going over. I can't wait till we talk about Wembayama, man. His injury history is frightening.
Yeah, man. Those guys with that frame. A little
the Nerlens Noel look always comes back to haunt you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look at Chet. We haven't spoken about Chet all year. That guy, he bumped into LeBron and he was out.
Exactly. Rest your case, counselor. Exactly.
That's nutty, man. Those guys.
But Derek Lively is not like those guys. He's much stronger.
He's got a bigger frame.
Bigger frame, and he can take on the weight. But he's more athletic, actually.
Okay. Doesn't look too clunky with it because Chet looks a little clunky with it. He's a fluid athlete, I guess, but for the most part, he looks a little clunky.
Yeah, he looks clunky. He's all arms and stuff. Looks like
like one of those balloons in front of the car dealerships, or insurance places. All right, so one more question before we wrap up. I see you mentioned he has the form to be a decent shooter if he puts the work in, but that free throw percentage is kind of haunting him a little bit, 63.3. So you think he'll be able to get to a point where he can be a legitimate threat, knocking down outside shots, even if it's not a 3-pointer? You're talking about, maybe like a 16 to 18 footer just to keep the defense honest.
I do. And but let's put it this way. I think he'll be better than the 25% that iHeart's shooting. And we saw how effective iHeart could be. So he could come in and, like we said, Mitch is here 5 years and doesn't have an offensive move, but if he can block shots like he can, this guy, but like you see, the problem with Duke is they don't really, Mark Williams last year didn't have a point guard, so you couldn't even see his potential. This kid is 64%. He's a killer on rolls, man. You have a good, whether it's Jalen or even a Josh Hart who's great in pick and rolls. Yeah, this is a guy who could kill on rolls, man.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Foxy. Look, I see people complaining about the subscription. That's just crazy. They said $30 a month. I say, oh, these guys are nutty. I'm not paying $30 a month. There's enough options out here nowadays where you can get it for free that I'm not paying it. One of the reason I play for the cable now for MSG Go is because it's a reliable connection and I don't got to worry about people, taking the stream down. But if you're going to charge me 30 beans, then I'll live with it. It's not like I do watch throughs or whatever you want to call it.
Just do what I do. I borrow money from JD to pay for it. He's making that big money, so let him share it with us. So.
With the peons, right? I hear you on that one. All right, so thank you for that, Foxy. I really do. Always enjoy doing the stream with you. Always enjoy chopping it up with the chat. We still got 152 people in chat strong. Thank you guys for tuning in. We mentioned we were going to start a little earlier because we had a lot of content to give you guys, and we didn't want to cut ourselves short, and we didn't want to, cut you guys off prematurely before we got the information that we wanted to get to you. So thank you guys for sitting through the entirety of the storm. We got a storm. It's the entirety of the show. We got.
You keep thinking X-Men.
Yeah, I'm bugging, right? I'm over here going crazy. Too much Marvel moments. We got up to like 220, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you guys for the tremendous support. We really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for everyone that. Thank you to everyone that submitted a super chat. We really do appreciate that as well. We're trying to build up the Sunday streams and the other streams here on the channel and try to provide you with the most immersive and best experience talking Knicks here on YouTube. So once again, thank you guys for all that. Foxy, you want to say anything before we wrap up?
Just again, kudos to Keys, folks. I don't know if you noticed, but he worked hard behind the scenes to try to, even though we were during the season, to visually, the show with using OBS of, the overlays and everything else. So to me, it's looking beautiful. So congratulations again for all your hard work. It's looking great. The
Thank you.
videos, everything else. We're trying to make this top shelf, and it is in my book. You can see all the work that we put in. But again, just shout out to the SV Nation. Thank you. We have 140 likes, so we blew past that 100 metric. Thank you. Keep subscribing. And also just shout out to the truck drivers. We get a lot of stuff from people that go across the country and love listening to Sports Vibe TV. Shout out to the first responders. Shout out to the vets. We love the vets. Thank you for your service. And also, if you can't catch it live, we love chopping it up with the replay gang. So thank you, everybody. We can't wait to see you next Sunday. And like we said, whether it was Jesco this week or Shimmy MD, drop it if you have ideas of things that you'd like us to work on. We love having that interaction with you to make the show better and better. And you have great ideas. So as Keith always says, you're the third host. So thank you so much. And last but not least, go Knicks, go.
Yep. Everything here on the channel was a collaborative effort. I might be the face of Sports Vibes TV, but this channel doesn't run without you guys tuning in, without Foxy being great behind the scenes and helping me set everything up and work with the slides and pulling up stats and things like that. So thank you all for everything you do. Also, like Foxy said, you have any suggestions, let us know either on IG, Twitter. We've got both of our handles on screen. If you want to follow us on those platforms, feel free. We respond on those platforms, and also we take suggestions on those platforms. At some point, we'll also do some Q&As where people ask questions, and we bring those questions to the stream and answer them here. So thank you again for everything. I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV, joined as always by my co-host Stephen Fox and